In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the top questions people ask before they move to a 55 plus community. Get to stick around to the end because we're going to talk about the HOA and the HOA police. So a lot of people are out Googling 55 plus communities as the baby boomers start their retirement age. Some people will go out and buy their home before they retire, maybe when they're 55 and they're planning on retiring at 65, or some people will wait all the way until the end and do it right at 65. The one thing you don't want to do to yourself is make a rash decision and end up in a community that doesn't work for you. There's communities for all types of people and all types of activities, including introverts. So let's dig into the information and go over some of the top asked questions on Google search for living in a 55 plus community. So the number one question that's asked is, what are the benefits of living in a 55 plus community? Well, one of the benefits is it's geared toward people in that age category. They're looking for a peaceful, enjoyable life with things to do. Now, if you retire at 55 or you move into a 55 plus community before you retired, your experience is going to be a little bit different. Many of the people in the 55 plus communities over time have been 65 or older most of the time. But since COVID happened, more people are looking at a 55 plus community as a place to live before they retire. One of the advantages of buying into a 55 plus community before you retire is the fact that you're going to get in before prices continually go up. Over time, things tend to get more expensive, and the sooner you can get in and buy a property in a 55 plus, and not necessarily have to live there, you can look into the rental option. But some of the people that I talked to this week when I was over in Sun City and some other communities were talking about the fact that they bought before they even moved to the 55 plus community. Not everyone can afford it. Again, that's where you would look into a rental option. So one of the questions that's very popular on Google search is, what are the benefits of living in a 55 plus community? Well, there's many different types of 55 plus communities. This week I was over at Sun City and Ventana Lakes, and I can just tell you that every community is slightly different. Some of the communities in Arizona, the homes are older, some of them are newer, some of them have a ton of amenities, some have less amenities. It just depends. I would always say a community has a personality, and so does its HOA. The best thing that you can do is go and visit some of these communities, go up to the community pool, try to meet some people, talk to them, ask them what they like and they don't like about the community. Remember, every community has pros and cons. But ultimately, the 55 plus communities are geared toward a quiet environment, geared toward seniors with amenities and things to do to keep them active and hopefully keep the costs down. Some of the communities we have out here, like Sun City West, they have a lot of volunteers, and those volunteers provide activities for people to do to keep active, get out in the community and help other people, and donate their time. It also gets their social skills. The next question that's asked is, how do I pick the right 55 plus community? Well, to me, there's no better way than visiting the community. But I'm not just saying go out with your real estate agent and drive through the community and look at a couple houses. The best thing to do, just like purchasing any home, I like to tell people, go around the area in the mornings, go around in the evenings, go to the local grocery store, and just hang out around the community. Spend a little time there if you can. Get a hotel room close to it if you're visiting from out of state, and go and check it out and see if it's got what you want. The one thing that excites me about going into some of these 55 communities is visiting all the facilities and seeing the people and how happy they are. The other day when I was over there, it was over 110 degrees, and by the time I got home, it was 116. I was going from facility to facility and looking at some of the rec center things and talking to people. And the one thing that I found is many of the people were still out at 110, parking their car and walking in to use the pool, the fitness center, or just something to keep active during the summer. Now remember, 55 plus communities have a lot of people that are gone during the summer. So it's a good time to go visit during the summer, even though it's hot. It's just so you can see what's happening. It's also a good time to go again in the winter to see how busy it is when everybody's here, especially in Arizona. So the next Google question that's very popular is, what are the disadvantages of living in a 55 plus community? Well, of course, there's a number of them. First of all, you're going to have an HOA. Second of all, you're going to have limitations on what kind of people can come and stay with you and how long that can happen. And part of the HOA rules with pet regulations, visitors, hours at the amenities and everything are going to be some of the restrictions that people don't like in a 55 plus community. Now, that's not limited to just 55 plus, because any community with an HOA can have some of these restrictions. The next question is, how do I prepare my finances for living in a 55 plus community? Well, for me, it's not that much different than your normal financing. But one thing that I always recommend to people is, at any point in your life, this is a good thing, is get one bank account and one credit card and try to run all your expenses through those two cards. Now, if you're married, you can divide the cards, but if you really want to watch your spending habits to be prepared for retirement in general, what you can do is use that credit card for all your groceries, your shopping, and all your miscellaneous expenses. Just use one card. And again, if you're married, husband and wife, use that same credit card. Now, use one bank account. Run all your finances through the bank account so that all your checks and everything are written out of that same account. Once you do that, at the end of the year or quarterly, I like to go through into my bank and download an Excel spreadsheet with all the things that I've spent money on. It's very easy to sort them and then put a category to them, like shopping, pharmacy, medical, groceries. You can break it down like that. And then once you resort it based on those parameters, you can look at exactly what you spent on shopping, groceries, entertainment, all of your expenses. You can do the same thing for your checking account. And at the end, I just add them all together and I could tell you exactly how much I spent at Safeway this year. Once you do that, you can go ahead and look at what the HOA dues and fees are and try to get some estimates for what the utilities are going to be, and then you can plan for some of your expenses. The next question, what are common social activities or activities in general at 55 plus living? Well, it just depends on the community. Almost every community in Arizona for sure is going to have a swimming pool, probably some tennis courts or pickleball courts, which pickleball now is becoming even more popular than tennis. And some communities aren't even putting tennis in anymore. They would go for pickleball instead. A lot of people like to play cards at some of these communities, so that's a popular thing. Some of them go on trips throughout the HOA. They plan trips. Some of them have social events. Some of them have music. There's a number of things that can happen in these communities. And the one thing I will tell you that I love more than anything is seeing people stay active. And that's one thing I've always loved about Arizona. People are very active out here. They ride their bikes, they go for hikes, they go walking, they walk their dogs. It's great that people living into their 70s and 80s are out there doing these activities. And that's one of the advantages of some of these 55 plus communities. Now, if you're an introvert, there's also options for you to get into some of the smaller clubs and groups and things to do. You can get into a social club that's very small. You can get into a clay shop. There's a lot of things that you can do if you're an introvert where you can still participate in the community. Next question that's very popular on Google is healthcare immediately available in 55 plus communities? One of the biggest things people have to plan on when it comes to retirement is healthcare. We all know it as we get up every morning. I love to golf, but I have a bad back, so I'm limited to golf to once a week. And I really have to go to the gym every morning and stretch out. So health is very important. Now, not every community has the health concerns the same way or is near healthcare. But if that's an issue for you and you start to have medical issues before you retire, you need to look towards a community that has good medical facilities around it. Now, I will tell you, in Arizona, Sun City and Sun City West have great medical. Sun City and Sun City West are good examples of communities that are really geared toward healthcare. They actually have more doctors per 100,000 people than many states do. So that's something that you need to look into if you're 65 or 75. I mean, the older you get, the more you want to be closer to medical. Now, many people in 55 plus communities, if they have a medical condition, they may move back to where their family was located. Maybe they move back to Minnesota, Chicago, Wisconsin. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. And it is a serious thing. It's going to happen to all of us that eventually we're going to get sick and we're going to need medical. So it's one thing that you really need to pay attention to, even more so than you probably think.